Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain. Today we're doing a little winter prep. It's kind of a series of things we have to do every year when we get a bad weather event coming. We have some snow and some freezing night temperatures that are going to get down into the teens, and maybe or where we have to be prepared for that. So there's certain things that we planted in the fall and things that we've done around the place that we have to protect. You know, everybody always has to do that, protect the faucets and drain hoses and irrigation lines and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things we're doing in here is these are all our Geranium liquid fertilizer buckets, and we have them wrapped in Agribon 50 fabric cloth, the front and the back. The big barrels probably will have enough mass in it that they'll actually keep the smaller buckets, which are around the outside of it, to keep them from freezing. So these guys aren't going to have any problems at all with cold weather. And since we're not using them right now, there isn't any point to do anything other than wrap them up for a month and just let them do their thing. Okay, the anemones these guys are really pretty frost hardy, but we've actually got some blooms that are already starting, and so we want to make sure we protect the blossoms. So we're going to put a fabric cloth over our suspended hoop system in here, and the bird netting is on here to protect it from roaming deer who like to come through our tunnels. It's just more of a pain to take it off and put it on all the time right now than it is to just take it off and then just leave fabric cloth. So I'm going to leave the bird netting on for protection, and then we're just going to put one layer of the Agribon 50 on over the top on both sides of it. We got another side over here of anemones, and we got some freesia right here that we want to protect for sure. And because they really have a hard time with temperatures down in the teens. So these guys are getting they're a little weedy. We're kind of behind on our chores, but we're gonna get these guys all covered up. But they should make it through pretty good. And then we have ornithogolems in the back. I've already started to partially cover those guys. And that'll be pretty much for in here. We'll just have the tunnel shut down on both ends and all the sides. So that'll protect it from any wind or blowing snow or anything of that nature. And I think we might put another fabric cloth over this guy, like double layer on this one, because if it does go down in the teens, that would be really rough on the freesia. But it wouldn't be so bad. Probably wouldn't hurt to do it on both sides, because
we have the cloth.
We've got the cloth to do it, just to protect everything twice. Doing a double layer gives you probably 12 to 14 degrees of protection, and you don't leave it on that long because the light transmission through this stuff, just a regular Agribon 50 it takes like 60% of the light out already, and if you double coat it, you're way down. So you don't want to leave it on too long, particularly this time of year when light levels are low anyway. So
mostly at night.
Yeah, we'll just mostly come out like near the end of the day, put it down, and then pull it up in the morning once things warm up.
Or the light, an errant sunlight hits it and like, oh.
So lots of times when it gets cold, at least where we're at, if we get experiencing like a really cold daytime and cold nighttime temperatures, it's rare we have overcast. It's usually
clear.
Usually coming out of the northeast, and it blows all the clouds and the moisture out, and we get clear skies and cold. And that is usually also accompanied with a wind, so it's all got that kind of thing. But in this particular case, it sounds like we're going to kind of have a mixture of snow, maybe a little bit in there. So it's going to be kind of
rain, snow
mix type thing. So it's not going to be too bad. You know, as winter events go, it's not going to be that bad. But one of the things you need to do that I think a lot of people think is like, oh, I got bad weather for a week, so I'll just put my fabric cloth or my frost blankets over everything, tuck it all down, and I'll come back in a week after I get back from Cabo.
Can't do that.
You can't do that because one of the things that happens this time of year.
Maybe some people can, but we've never been able to.
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't use the word can't. Let's say you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that happens is when the sun does come out, if these frost blankets are on it in a tunnel that's already shut down, you'll be amazed at how fast it'll get hot in here. I mean, it could be, 30 degrees outside, but if it's sunny and this tunnel is totally shut down, it'll be 60, 70 degrees in here. And then under the fabric cloth itself, it'll even get warmer. So the other aspect of the thing that goes on too is usually what happens when things warm up like that, the air has a lot of humidity in it. So when it hits the plastic, which is cold on the other side, the humid air will condense, and you're going to get a lot of moisture in here. So it's weirdly enough really important if you're above freezing to vent the tunnel and get the humidity down as low as you can, because the longer you leave that set up where it's all closed, and the sun comes out, goes away, comes out, goes away, what happens is you start building a lot of moisture on the plastic and it starts dripping down. And actually you can have a fabric cloth that gets wet.
We've been in here before where, we kind of were a little delayed, and then you come in and it rains on you.
Yeah.
Because there's so much moisture on top. It's just raining.
Right. So when you're doing that stuff like that with anemones or ranunculus, one of the things that you got to think about is you got to think about airflow. Airflow is important. And even though you go, it's really uncomfortable to be outside for me, you got to think of these plants are kind of cool season plants. So if you're above freezing, you're safe. So vent while you can, and then get the sides and everything shut back down before the temperatures go back down below freezing. So you get that airflow and get the circulation around the plants. It'll really help you prevent disease. And also too, a plant that ends up getting stressed, when it comes into spring and it's been through a very stressful time, you're going to have more opportunities for funguses and aphids and all those kinds of things. So you got to think about the plant, what you think is stressful, being cold at 35 to 40 degrees. These plants think this is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I got to get some harvesting done, right?
Yeah, we got a couple, maybe a bunch in here or two. Maybe. What do you think?
I think there's more than that.
Could be.
They're going to be small.
It looks like, we're going to be able to start harvesting for sale probably sometime early January, which is good. Yep. All right, this is one of our scented geranium rows, and we're going to do this. This guys have been all cut back for spring. We've already got one fabric cloth on here that is it's another Agribon 50. That's the only thing we use for frost protection on the farm. Is I know lots of people use different types, maybe 30 or even less, but what we found is when we get down to freezing temperatures, this is the thing that kind of gives the best protection. And these scented geraniums, they can take a bit of a nip, but they really can't take it especially when they're cut down like this, where it goes down into multiple days of below freezing nights. It starts to kill them off. So we're going to put a double fabric cloth on. I got some old scrap that I'm going to put on top. Actually,
how long have these been here?
This probably, I've lost track. It's over 5 years now. They keep coming back.
And they've come through that many very cold winters.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know?
it's got a tar of rose, chocolate mint, and sweet mimosa and old-fashioned rose. So it's about a 90-foot row, and this is one of the things that just keeps pumping it out in the summertime. So
If we protect them during the winter.
if we protect them during the winter, outside there would be no way we could protect them, you know. But inside the house, we can get it warm enough during the day. I mean, it's like I'm in the tunnel, I'm wearing a jacket, but honestly, right now feels like about 35, 40 degrees outside. But in here, it feels closer to 55 or 60.
About 50, 55.
I'll settle for 55. Okay, this is something that we've never had before at this time of year. And we've already had some damage from tips getting kind of bunged up. But these Snapdragons, these were the ones that were perennialized. You might have remembered we did a video, back in the end of September or so, about perennializing Snapdragons, and we thought, okay, they would grow a little bit and then they would kind of like stop, and they just kept going. And as a matter of fact, they've got blossom spikes on them. Some of these guys look pretty good.
These are all 1-2s.
Right, they're Costas, and well, there's some Chantilly's in the back end.
And Chantilly's,
yeah.
But those are all 1 and 2s.
Right.
And these were for this past winter, and they were to go through January and February of this current year, right. 2021, and be harvested in April and May, which we did.
Right.
Then we let them go. We thought they were dead.
Yeah, we didn't water them all summer.
And they're
then
back.
They came back in the fall. We've had an exceptionally warm up to this point fall, so I mean that helped it tremendously, I think. And the question is, can we protect them? And we've kind of built a frame over the top. The rope is to kind of keep the fabric cloth from leaning against the spikes. The ones on the outside will probably get damaged. But the ones in the center, or the ones still coming along, hopefully will be okay. And we're going to put at least two layers on here when it goes really cold. Snaps should be able to take it. It's not the plant we're worried about, it's the blossom. Because the blossoms are probably the tenderest part of the plant, and you know, if they get burned back, then it's kind of like the plant will still be alive, and we'll have to cut it all back, and it'll probably grow back in the spring. But the objective is to kind of see if we can save it so that it's just like they're real close to blooming. I mean, some of these guys have already fired off, but
if the weather had held like it had been cool in the 40s,
yeah,
and you know, high 30s and 40s, they would continue on and probably bloom, and we'd get a harvest. But
right.
Going into the 20s, and
so here's a note for you California growers who are we're in Oregon and we're at the 45th parallel, and if you're down there in California at the 38th or 35th parallel, well, first of all, you got more light and you got more warmth. If you're not in the snow belt, I think this would actually work out pretty good for you.
Yep.
But I mean, if I was down there, that's what I'd
be doing it.
So I could sell Snapdragons in January.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where it's at. We're gonna put a fabric cloth over this. So let's kind of take a walk down here and you can kind of see some of the other things. So you've already got some damage, just mechanical damage, funguses. It's kind of sad, but what are you gonna do? It's an experiment, right?
Yeah.
It's like this one's got damage. And then this is down here. This wasn't supposed to happen at all. I was supposed to trim all these Delphinium back to the ground, and then they just kept kind of growing. They don't look super great right now. Some of them got powdery mildew and that sort of thing.
But it's another case of...
But it was just like, I was just curious, would it actually bloom in the low light conditions?
They looked like they were dead.
Yeah.
This summer.
Yeah, well, you know, they went, powdery mildew, and we thought we were going to end up replacing them. And we still may.
I'm still going.
There's still a bunch in here that we'll probably yank out, but we just wanted to see, it's like, hey, can you get these Delphinium to bloom like this time of year? And, you know, again, the answer is yeah. This is Guardian series, most of it?
It's all Guardian.
It's all Guardian, okay.
Yeah, this is going to be the only one that we're really going to grow, because it maintains the right height for everything that we do. If we needed to net from the Snapdragons to the Delphiniums, it's all the same height.
Right.
You know, so where Magic Fountain or Pacific Giants they would be up in the top. Nothing wrong with those, they just get too tall for us. You know, and if we want to do those, they would have to be out in the landscape.
Yeah. But, you know, this was kind of an interesting thing. Now, they're not going to make it through the cold, and that's okay. They're going to die back down to the ground, and then I'll just clean them out.
So we're going to do a little harvest to have some
take
flowers.
A few for the home, for the house. But, you know what this kind of shows, though? Again, if you were down there in a warmer climate, you know, just a few hundred miles south of us, in a tunnel, this may be a possibility for another, you know, early or late winter, early spring crop.
And these are not heated tunnels.
No, unheated. Right.
In fact, you know, they're open at both ends today just to get it nice and
You know, the only thing I did
cool.
on this that I didn't do in a different year is I ran Geranium liquid fertilizer through the drip systems probably about three or four times. Yeah, 4 times.
Yeah, so we kept the biology going.
Yeah, so it's like biology and fertilizer, yeah.
So
and these are all no-till beds, no dig. We don't dig them.
Never tilled in here.
Now we do have some issues still with the ranunculus, and we talked about, you know, using the fermented seawater, and we did on that side, and it's like it looks like the problems we were encountering have stabilized, but at this particular point in time of the year, things are just not growing that fast for them. But the newer growth that's coming out doesn't seem to have the yellowing of the leaves.
We've got the ends blocked so there's no deer in here.
Yeah, we've got netting on the ends so the deer don't get in here again. So it's kind of like we've got those ones stabilized, and I think, you know, we'll start fertilizing here in a week or two and see if we can kind of get it.
Once this cold spat's over.
Yeah, once the cold spat's over. And now you may look at the hoops here and see, oh, look at that. There's fabric cloth. Those hoops are just 3/4 inch utility grade poly irrigation line. You can buy it like a Home Depot 100-foot roll for, well, it used to be $20. I don't know what it is today with inflation, but that's about it. And they're cut to, I think it's about 9 foot in length, and bent over the beds, secured down, similar to we do for low tunnels outside. We put a stake like at about a 2 foot electric fence. You know, those fence rods are 3/8 inch, I think, or something like that, and then we just put the same kind of tie down loop around the hoops as we do for an outside tunnel. The only difference is in here, we don't have to have tension on it or anything of that nature. So, but we use the tie down string so that we can easily just come and just pull the slip knot and, you know, push the fabric cloth down. And then in the morning when we want to, you know, put it back up, we just kind of use the tie. You can see the ropes, the way they hold the fabric cloth over the ribs. That way we get airflow in here and we get light. So it's a real quick thing, back and forth, let them down. You know, it ends up being like, you know, you probably spend 10, 15 minutes doing it. It's not that big of a deal.
Really convenient. You don't have to drag them off to one side or another. They're just right down the center. They're easy to pull up and they're very easy to drop down.
Right, and we've got them at a height that it doesn't really interfere with the plant until they get to the point where they're blooming, which is like March.
Take this off.
And then we just take it off, yeah, because at that point, it's, I mean, still could have a frost, but usually by that point, it's not that big of a deal. You're not going to have freezing temperatures. What we're more concerned about is the soil freezing. So we want to, like we get near the end of the day, we want to trap the heat that's in the tunnel around the plants. And if it gets really bad, we can throw another Agribon over the top of this one without tying it down. We'll just bring it over and lay it over the top. again, you know, you try to, once the temperatures get above freezing the next day, come out, open up the tunnel, pull up the fabric cloth, get the airflow in here. That's real important. And even with airflow in here, I still have lots of moisture.
But it's not as bad as, you know, it could just be literally raining icy water down your neck.
Yeah. It's always going to happen with this type of plastic. I know they make special greenhouse plastics that supposedly it doesn't happen, but this is for an unheated tunnel, so it's always going to have the issue of cold air on the outside, warmer air on the inside, and the humidity that's coming out of the ground, out of the plants, is going to condense on it. And so it's just a matter of trying to flush it out as much as you can from our perspective. So that's kind of it. We keep an extra store of fabric cloth in here, so when we need to pull it over the top, we can. Any questions?
No, it's just that all we have to do is do a dance that prevents it from snowing, because we're also prepped with the equipment we need to pull snow off the tunnel. This round tunnel will not automatically slough it off.
Yeah, unfortunately, we built these things before the advent of either a self-bender that could make Gothic or a Farmer's LLC. This is a Farmer LLC tunnel before they were selling kits that were Gothic. And yeah, anybody who buys going forward Gothic, I mean, if I was to do it again, that's the way I'd go, because it's just to be a godsend to have something that would slide off on its own rather than being out at 3 o'clock in the morning scraping it off.
Which we've done
yeah,
a few times, but now every year that goes by, it's a little more. Oh man!
Yeah, when you were a kid, you prayed for snow because it'd be so fun. We won't have to go to school.
We go the other way now.
Now it's like, oh God, don't let it snow,
please! And it always snows at night.
It always snows the worst.
So we
at
got
night.
our headlamps ready.
Yep.
We've got our scrapers ready. We just don't want to do this at night.
No, but
at all.
But that's the way it rolls. I mean, these tunnels can take, with the purlin in it, they can probably take an inch or two, you know, and it's just a matter of when you start getting above that, you really got to get it raked off, because if it starts to freeze, then it just like builds layers, and it's almost impossible to get off once it's like crispy.
And the other thing is, it depends on how wet the snow is.
Right.
If, you know, we typically get pretty wet snow.
Yeah.
So if it's kind of dry and flies away, yay, but if it's wet and heavy with ice, it's a job.
And how many tunnels do you have now?
We have 5.5. We have a half of one, a propagation house, and we've got 5, and we're getting too old for this snow scraping. So we're gonna work on 3 of them if it happens.
Well, worst case, I mean, if it snows so hard that it gets way ahead of us, you know, I mean, anybody, this would be true, you know, if the weather gets so bad that even with labor you can't keep up with it, it just comes to a point where you cut the plastic and you go, rather save the steel. I can replace plastic for a couple $100, but the steel
gets mangled and stuff, and it's bad.
Yep.
So we'll drop 2 of them.
We've been doing this for 10 years. No, we've had tunnels since 2011, so it's 10 years. This will be actually going into our 11th winter. We haven't had to cut the plastic yet. We've had some bad ones.
But you also have been out in the dark.
Yep.
Full moon. I could see you down there. I worked for a while, but I couldn't do it very long. It's major shoulder and upper back work.
Yeah, it's a good workout. So
let's hope that we'll dance away to no snow.
Probably by the time you see this video, we're going to know one way or the other.
Yeah.
So let's stop sniveling and get to work.
Okay.
Okay. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.